stop. Right now. Look at your life, your goals, your dreams, your endless to-do list. You're busy but not moving. You're chasing everything and catching nothing. The truth? Success doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing less, with purpose. There is one thing, one focus, one action, one priority that makes everything else fall into place. This is not motivation. This is the law of extraordinary success. And today, we're going to strip away the noise, the clutter, the chaos, until only your one thing remains. Welcome to Growth Listen, where we don't just learn, we transform. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop doing everything. Most people fail not because they're lazy, but because they're scattered. That's the truth nobody wants to admit. You wake up with energy, with plans, with goals. You say you want more money, more freedom, better health, a better life. But by noon, your mind's been hijacked by notifications, side hustles, shiny objects, and someone else's priorities. And by the end of the day, you've moved an inch in 100 directions. Nowhere that matters. That's not ambition. That's chaos. You think you're working hard, but really, you're sprinting in circles. The problem isn't effort. It's dilution. You're spreading your energy too thin to make an impact anywhere. Let's make something clear right now. You can do anything, but not everything. Say it again. You can do anything, but not everything. That's the mantra of clarity. That's the mantra of power. Because the world doesn't reward the multitasker. It rewards the finisher. It rewards the one who chooses one mountain and climbs it until their hands bleed. The myth of having it all. We live in a culture obsessed with more. More goals, more projects, more tabs open, more opportunities. But here's the brutal truth. More is the enemy of mastery. Every time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. When you chase 10 rabbits, you catch none. You want to build a business, get in shape, learn guitar, start a YouTube channel, read 10 books, meditate, travel, fall in love, and somehow still sleep 8 hours a night. It's not that you can't do all those things in a lifetime. It's that you can't do them all right now. The lie of productivity culture is that you can stack it all at once. You can't. That's not discipline. That's delusion. Discipline isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but better. Focus is a weapon. Focus is the superpower of the 21st century. In a distracted world, focus is rebellion. Everyone wants to be everything for everyone all at once. But the masters of any craft, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, don't scatter. They narrow. They sacrifice breadth for depth. They cut out noise so they can amplify signal. Focus is the art of subtraction. It's not about what you add to your life. It's about what you eliminate. You don't need to start 10 things. You need to finish one. That's the key. Most people quit right before the breakthrough because they're addicted to newness. They chase dopamine instead of discipline. They get bored and call it burnout. They start over and call it progress. But the truth? You don't need a new goal. You need renewed focus on the one that matters. The power of saying no. Every yes is a contract. It costs time, energy, attention, focus. So before you say yes, ask yourself, what will this cost me? Because you can't move forward if your schedule is a graveyard of half-built projects. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your focus. You don't need their permission to prioritize your mission. That's the key. You think discipline means forcing yourself to do more. It doesn't. Real discipline is the courage to do less on purpose. To say, this matters, that doesn't. Period. That's power. That's maturity. That's control. Because scattered people are slaves to distraction. Focused people are masters of time, and time is life. You can do anything, but not everything. Tattoo it on your mind. You can do anything, but not everything. It's the law of focus. It's the price of greatness. You can't build 2 empires at once. You can't master 10 crafts. You can't give 100% to 5 different things and expect one to grow. You have to decide. That's what terrifies people, the decision. Because choosing one thing means killing the others. But that's how clarity is born. That's how results are made. The person who commits fully to one path, even imperfectly, outpaces the person dabbling in a dozen. Every time. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be pointed. The discipline of elimination. Here's your exercise. Write down everything you're chasing right now. Every project, every goal, every one-day I'll dream. Now ask, which of these actually moves me forward? Not which ones make you feel busy. Not which ones look good on social media. Which ones actually change your life? Circle one. Then cross out the rest. That's your real work. Because success isn't built on addition. It's built on elimination. You're not overloaded because life is unfair. You're overloaded because you won't choose. Make the cut. Focus your fire. That's the only way to win. Focus creates identity. You are what you focus on. If your attention is scattered, your identity is too. If your focus is sharp, your identity becomes solid. People who do everything are known for nothing. People who master one thing become unforgettable. Think about it. Michael Jordan wasn't the best golfer, the best investor, or the best chef. He was the best basketball player. He chose one court and dominated it. Steve Jobs didn't build 100 products. He built a few perfectly. It's not about quantity. It's about precision. Your focus becomes your reputation. Your reputation becomes your leverage. And leverage is how you build freedom. So stop scattering your energy. Consolidate it. Stop chasing everything. Start mastering something. That's the key. The real reason you can't focus. Let's be honest. You don't have a time problem. You have a decision problem. You're afraid to commit because you're afraid to miss out. You want certainty before you choose. But life doesn't give you that. You choose, then you make it right. Waiting for the perfect path is just another form of procrastination. You'll never know if it's the right goal until you go all in. That's why discipline matters more than direction. Because the committed person finds a way. The distracted person finds an excuse. You have a choice. The law of one. Here's the law. One mission, one focus, one direction. That's how you build momentum. When all your energy points the same way, you become unstoppable. When it's scattered, you stay stuck. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the one thing that multiplies everything else. If you focus on health, your energy rises. If you focus on discipline, your income grows. If you focus on mastery, your confidence follows. That's the domino effect of focus. The power of clarity. You've been told you can do it all. You can't, and that's a good thing. Because when you stop doing everything, you finally start doing what matters. When you cut the noise, you find your voice. You can do anything, but not everything. That's not limitation. That's liberation. So choose your target. Burn the rest. The world rewards the focused. That's the key. You just learned the foundation. Focus over chaos, clarity over clutter, discipline over distraction. You stopped doing everything. Now it's time to master the next step, protecting your energy. Because focus without energy is a fire with no fuel. Chapter 2: The Domino Effect of Focus. Big results don't come from big efforts. They come from small, consistent, aligned efforts, stacked in the right order. Extraordinary results are sequential, not simultaneous. That's the truth. That's the law. You can't climb 10 stairs at once. You climb one, then the next, then the next. Success works the same way. But most people never get that far because they try to do it all at once. They want the entire staircase before taking the first step. They want the victory without the sequence. That's why they burn out. That's why they quit. That's why they stay stuck. You have to stop trying to sprint in all directions. You have to line up your dominoes and knock down the first. Say it again. Line up your dominoes. Knock down the first. That's the key. Success has a sequence. Everything great follows a sequence. A champion doesn't start with a trophy. They start with one workout, one rep, one session. A business doesn't start with millions. It starts with one sale, one customer, one solved problem. A book doesn't start with 300 pages. It starts with one sentence. But you know what separates the achievers from the dreamers? Achievers understand sequence. Dreamers want simultaneity. Dreamers want everything now. Achievers build momentum, step by step. They don't need to see the finish line. They just need to know the next domino. That's focus. That's discipline. You can't knock down domino number 10 until you hit number 1. You can't build the empire before you build the foundation. So stop skipping steps. Stop fantasizing about someday. Start with today. That's the key. The power of momentum. When you line up your dominoes and hit the first one, something happens. Momentum. Momentum is power in motion. Once it starts, it multiplies. That's why small wins matter. Each one builds confidence. Each one builds proof. Success is not about motivation. It's about motion. You don't wait to feel ready. You move first. You push the first domino, and the rest start falling. That's how compound success is built. You don't need massive action on day one. You need consistent action every day. The first domino is small for a reason. It's meant to move. The problem is, most people never even line theirs up. They scatter their dominoes all over the table. Goals in every direction. Health here, money there, relationships somewhere else. Then they wonder why nothing moves. It's not because they're lazy. It's because they're misaligned. You can't create a chain reaction when nothing connects. Line up your dominoes. Knock down the first. That's the secret. The writer who kept going. Let me tell you a story. There was a writer, ordinary guy, full-time job, family, no spare time. He dreamed of finishing a book, but every time he thought about it, he froze. The idea of 300 pages felt impossible. So he made a decision. He said, "I'll write 1 page a day. Just one. No excuses, no perfection. 1 page." At first, it felt small. Some days, he wanted to skip it. Some days, he doubted it mattered. But 1 page became 2. 2 became 5. A week later, he had a chapter. A month later, he had several. A year later, he had a finished book. And that book changed his life. How? Not because he had genius, because he lined up his dominoes and knocked down the first. That's the domino effect of focus. Every win sets up the next one. Every small success builds a bridge to something bigger. That's how results compound. That's how greatness grows. Why most people never get there. Most people sabotage their own momentum. They push one domino halfway, then stop to rearrange the whole line. They keep changing goals, changing direction, changing their mind. They say, I'll start a business, then maybe I'll switch careers. They start one fitness plan, then chase another. They're always busy, never consistent, and they wonder why nothing compounds. Here's the truth. You don't need a new plan. You need to finish the one you started. You don't need another idea. You need to execute the current one. Every time you reset, you destroy momentum. Every time you quit halfway, your dominoes stop falling. That's why you feel stuck. You keep resetting your sequence. You have a choice. Keep chasing new or commit to next. Because success isn't about doing everything right. It's about doing the next thing long enough to matter. That's the key. Focus turns motion into results. When your effort lines up with direction, everything changes. You stop wasting energy. You stop burning out. You start building. That's the power of focus. Focus doesn't make the work easier. It makes it effective. Without focus, effort is friction. With focus, effort becomes leverage. Think of it like a row of dominoes again. If they're aligned perfectly, one tiny push creates massive impact. If they're scattered, nothing moves. That's how your goals work. You can have ambition, you can have drive, but if your focus is scattered, you'll keep starting over. When you line things up, everything connects. That's why the best athletes have routines. That's why top performers master one system. That's why disciplined people seem unstoppable. They've aligned their dominoes, and they don't stop. They don't ask, is this working? They keep pushing until it does. That's the key, the discipline of sequencing. So how do you apply this? Simple. 1. Pick one mission. Don't juggle 3. Don't split your attention. Choose one clear target. 2. Break it into steps. What's the first domino? The smallest, easiest win that moves you forward. 3. Commit to consistency. Don't wait for motivation. Make it automatic. 1 page, 1 call, 1 workout. 4. Protect your momentum. Eliminate distractions. Stop restarting. Keep the chain reaction alive. 5. Review your sequence weekly. Adjust your order, but never your direction. This isn't theory, it's structure. Because without structure, focus collapses. You can't control everything, but you can control your sequence, and sequence turns chaos into progress. You have a choice. You can keep doing what you've always done, jumping from goal to goal, idea to idea, never finishing anything. Or you can build momentum. You can choose to stop scattering and start stacking. You can choose to line up your dominoes and knock down the first. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's not about speed. It's about sequence. It's not about talent. It's about direction. You have a choice. That's the key. The chain reaction of greatness. Every great achievement is built on the domino effect. A single step, a single act, a single commitment, repeated relentlessly. One domino knocks over the next, and the force multiplies. That's how you go from small wins to big victories. That's how you turn motion into mastery. The secret of focus is not doing everything. It's doing the right thing in the right order. You can do anything, but not everything. You can start anywhere, but you must start now. Line up your dominoes. Knock down the first. That's how you build your empire, one disciplined action at a time. The chain reaction of power. You've learned that focus isn't about effort. It's about order. It's about creating a chain reaction of progress. Your future isn't built in one massive leap. It's built one domino at a time. You don't need to conquer everything today. You just need to push the first one. And once it falls, momentum will take care of the rest. That's how small steps turn into unstoppable force. That's the domino effect of focus. You've built clarity. You've built momentum. Now it's time to protect it. Because the world will try to knock you off track. Distraction will hunt you. Negativity will drain you. So the next lesson is survival, the art of defending your energy. Chapter 3. Ask the one question. You're overwhelmed because you're asking the wrong questions. You're tired because your focus is scattered. You're stuck because you're trying to solve everything at once. You're not lacking effort. You're lacking clarity. And clarity starts with one question. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? That question changes everything. It cuts through noise. It kills confusion. It obliterates excuses. That's the question high performers live by. It's not about doing more. It's about finding the one thing that makes more possible. Say it again. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Ask it daily. Live it hourly. Obsess over it. That's the key. The power of the one question. You don't need a million strategies. You need the right question. Because the quality of your questions determines the quality of your results. Most people ask weak questions. They ask, how can I do it all? How can I balance everything? How can I make everyone happy? Those questions lead to stress, burnout, and mediocrity. The high performer asks differently. They ask, what's the one thing that truly matters right now? That question filters everything else. It eliminates the non-essential. It reveals what's real. Because when you find your one thing, you find your leverage point. That's the key. Clarity beats busyness. Busyness is the enemy of clarity. You think motion means progress, but it doesn't. You're checking boxes, replying to emails, scrolling through goals, switching between 5 different projects. You feel productive. You're not. You're just busy. Busyness is the illusion of work without direction. You're spinning your wheels, burning your energy, drowning in distractions. But when you ask the one question, everything slows down. You stop, you breathe, you decide. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? That question exposes what matters. It forces you to prioritize. It forces you to choose. You have a choice. The domino effect in motion. Remember the domino effect from the last chapter? One domino knocks down the next. This question is how you find that first domino. When you ask it, you stop guessing. You start aligning. You stop doing what's urgent and start doing what's important. You don't chase 10 things halfway. You push one thing all the way. Because everything doesn't deserve your attention. Only the essential does. That's why this question is so powerful. It turns chaos into sequence. It tells you what to start with. It tells you what to stop wasting energy on. It brings order to the noise. Ask it daily. Live it hourly. Obsess over it. Real-world example. The focused builder. Let's make it real. There's a man named Alex. He's building a business. He's drowning in tasks, marketing, sales, branding, emails, hiring. Every day feels like a war zone. He's busy from dawn till midnight, yet his growth is flat. Until one day, he stops. He asks himself, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? The answer hits him. He realizes his one thing is sales conversations. If he masters that, everything else, revenue, hiring, growth, becomes easier. So he cuts the noise. He stops designing logos, stops tweaking the website, stops perfecting systems. For 90 days, he does one thing: talk to customers. Every day. By the end of the quarter, his business triples. Not because he worked harder, because he worked truer. He lined up his dominoes. He knocked down the first. That's the power of asking the one question. What it does to your mind. When you live by this question, your brain shifts from chaos to clarity. It's like cleaning a fogged-up mirror. Suddenly, you see your reflection clearly. This question forces your mind to simplify, to prioritize, to align. It eliminates decision fatigue. It reduces overwhelm. It anchors your attention on what moves the needle. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What matters most right now?" That's a mental upgrade. That's a clarity discipline. Because the more you focus, the less you waste. The less you waste, the faster you win. That's the key. Stop confusing movement with progress. You can be busy every hour and still lose every day. Because activity without alignment is self-sabotage. You can hustle in the wrong direction. You can grind yourself into exhaustion and never arrive. That's what most people do. They're addicted to motion. But motion isn't mastery. Mastery comes from focus, from asking again and again, "What's the one thing I can do?" such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. That's how you separate effort from excellence. That's how you go from noise to results. That's how you win. How to use it daily. Here's how you apply this. Not someday, today. 1. Ask it in the morning. Before you check your phone, before you open your laptop, ask yourself the question, "What's the one thing I can do today?" such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. 2. Write the answer down. Don't just think it, write it. Make it real. 3. Do it first. Block time for it. No distractions, no excuses, no interruptions. 4. Repeat it hourly. Every time you drift, every time you feel overwhelmed, ask it again. What's my one thing right now? 5. Review weekly. Is your one thing still the right thing? Adjust if needed, but never scatter. This isn't philosophy. This is performance. This is how top performers stay aligned while everyone else gets lost. Ask it daily. Live it hourly. Obsess over it. That's the discipline. You don't need their permission. You don't need your boss's permission to simplify your focus. You don't need your friend's approval to prioritize what matters. You don't need the world to understand your focus. You need to protect it. Because people who are distracted will always call your discipline obsession. Let them. You're not chasing validation. You're chasing results. You're not trying to please everyone. You're trying to master yourself. And that starts with the one question. That's the key. It's not about balance. It's about alignment. People keep talking about balance. Balance is overrated. You're not supposed to balance everything. You're supposed to align with what matters. When you live by the one question, your life aligns naturally. Your time, energy, and effort flow toward your mission. Balance feels peaceful. Alignment feels powerful. Ask it daily. Live it hourly. Obsess over it. That's how you build a focused life in a distracted world. You have a choice. Every day, you have a choice. You can wake up and let the world pull you in 1,000 directions. Or you can wake up and ask one question. What's the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? That question gives you direction. That direction gives you freedom. Because when you know what matters most, you stop wasting time on what doesn't. You gain control. You gain power. You gain peace. That's the key. Ask it daily. Live it hourly. Obsess over it. The power of precision. You've learned how to cut through chaos. You've learned how to turn overwhelm into clarity. You've learned how to find your leverage point. Your results don't come from doing everything. They come from doing the right thing. That's how momentum builds. That's how mastery begins. That's how greatness compounds. You found your focus. You found your question. Now it's time to defend it. Because no matter how clear you are, distraction will come for you. Noise will test you. People will pull at you. The next lesson is about power, the power of protection. If you're finding value in this audiobook, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others. Now, let's return to our main discussion. Chapter 4. The Lie of Multitasking. Multitasking isn't a strength. It's a lie, a myth, a badge of honor people wear to hide the fact that they can't focus. You think you're being productive because you're doing 10 things at once? You're not. You're just doing 10 things badly. Every switch of attention kills momentum. Every distraction drains energy. Every interruption costs time you never get back. That's not performance. That's self-sabotage. Multitasking doesn't make you efficient. It makes you exhausted. It fragments your brain, scatters your focus, and shatters your potential. You can't go deep when you're constantly switching. You can't do great work when your attention is divided. You're not multitasking. You're multi-failing, slowly, invisibly, consistently. That's the truth most people don't want to face. You have a choice. You can keep living in distraction, or you can choose depth. That's the key. The science of switching. Let's get real. Every time you switch tasks, your brain burns energy. It doesn't move instantly from one thing to another. It lags. It takes time to disengage from one focus and re-engage with the next. That gap is called context switching, and it destroys productivity. You think you're multitasking, but your brain can only focus on one conscious task at a time. Everything else is micro-switching, tiny moments of transition that add up to massive loss. Here's the math. Switch between tasks just once every 5 minutes, and you'll lose about 40% of your productive time. 40% gone. That's not efficiency. That's waste. And the worst part? Every time you switch, you lose intensity. You don't just waste time, you dilute energy. Focus is a muscle. Every time you switch, you weaken it. So the more you multitask, the less capable you become of deep work. That's the trap. You're training yourself to be distracted. You're not a victim of technology. You're a volunteer. You have a choice. Why you do it? Let's be honest. You multitask because you're addicted to stimulation. You want to feel busy. You want to feel in control. You want the dopamine rush of checking boxes and juggling chaos. But busyness isn't accomplishment. You don't get points for activity. You get results for focus. You multitask because you're afraid of boredom. You're afraid of silence. You're afraid of facing one thing long enough to master it. Because mastery requires patience. And patience is uncomfortable. But that discomfort is where growth lives. That's where greatness is built. It's not about comfort. It's about discipline. That's the key. The high performers know better. Look at the best in any field. Athletes, CEOs, creators, artists. They don't multitask. They don't scatter. They go deep. When a world-class athlete trains, they're not checking their phone between reps. When a CEO strategizes, they're not toggling between Slack and social media. When a writer creates, they're not watching Netflix in the background. Top performers operate in focus blocks, sacred, uninterrupted time where nothing else exists. They guard that time like their life depends on it, because it does. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs let distraction run their day. Professionals design their day to eliminate it. They know that deep work isn't optional, it's survival. Because in a distracted world, focus is your greatest competitive advantage. That's the key. Real-world example, the champion's hour. Let's talk about Serena Williams. When she trains, her sessions are laser-focused. No noise, no chaos, no divided attention. For that hour, nothing exists but the court. No phone, no crowd, no outside world. One ball, one swing, one moment. That's why she wins. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's depth. Every repetition is focused. Every motion is intentional. She doesn't multitask her way to mastery. She focuses her way to dominance. That's how champions are made. Because focus compounds. Distraction divides. Line up your focus. Eliminate the rest. That's how you build power. The cost of distraction. Multitasking doesn't just cost time, it costs quality. Every time you divide your attention, your output weakens. Your work loses sharpness. Your conversations lose connection. Your ideas lose depth. You become a shallow version of yourself, always present, never fully engaged. You're there, but not really there. You're listening, but not hearing. You're working, but not progressing. Distraction makes you dull, and dull effort never creates sharp results. You can't be exceptional when your mind is fractured. If you want to build something great, you must give it your undivided presence. That's the cost of mastery. Everything else. The focus protocol. So how do you break the lie of multitasking? You build a protocol, a system for single-task domination. Here's how. 1. Schedule focus blocks. Block 60 to 90 minutes for deep work. One task, one goal, no distractions. 2. Protect that time. Turn off notifications. Shut the door. Tell people, I'm unavailable. You don't need their permission to focus. 3. Batch everything else. Don't answer messages all day. Don't scroll between tasks. Group communication. Errands and small tasks into one block. 4. Train your brain. Every time you get the urge to switch, stop. Breathe. Refocus. You're rewiring your brain for depth. 5. End with reflection. At the end of the day, ask, what did I truly finish? Not what you started, what you completed. This is how you build focus fitness. Every focused block strengthens your mental muscle. You don't need perfection. You need practice. That's the key. The discipline of boredom. You must learn to be bored, because focus requires silence. Silence feels empty, but it's where clarity lives. When you stop chasing stimulation, your brain recalibrates. You stop reacting. You start creating. Boredom is not a flaw. It's a training ground. It's where your best ideas are born. Every time you resist the urge to switch, you build strength. Every time you choose one task over 10, you build power. That's how discipline grows, one decision at a time. You have a choice. It's not about time. It's about attention. You don't have a time problem. You have an attention problem. Everyone gets 24 hours. The difference is where the attention goes. Multitasking divides it. Focus multiplies it. That's why two people can work the same hours and produce completely different results. One works in fragments. The other works in flow. One feels busy. The other makes progress. One burns out, the other breaks through. It's not about talent, it's about attention. That's the key. You have a choice. You can live scattered, or you can live sharp. You can keep chasing dopamine, or you can chase mastery. You can multitask your life away, or you can focus it into meaning. You have a choice. Multitasking feels fast, but it's slow death. Focus feels slow, but it's the only path to greatness. Stop believing the lie. Start living the truth. Every moment you focus fully, you reclaim your power. Every time you choose depth over distraction, you step closer to mastery. That's how you win. The truth about focus: you don't need more hours, you need more presence. You don't need more hacks, you need more depth. Multitasking is noise. Focus is strength. When you stop scattering your mind, you start sharpening your results. When you stop chasing everything, you start achieving something. That's the key. You've learned to cut the noise. You've learned to choose depth. Now it's time to protect that depth from the biggest threat of all, your environment. Because even the strongest focus dies in a toxic space. Chapter 5. Time blocks are sacred. Your calendar is your battlefield. Every day, you step onto it and fight for your future. Most people lose that battle before it even begins. They let everyone else invade their schedule. They say yes to everything, and in doing so, they say no to themselves. They treat time like it's infinite. It's not. Every minute you waste, you never get back. You have a choice. You can drift through your days, reacting to noise, or you can control your time like a weapon. That's the key. The calendar reveals the truth. You want to know who you are? Don't look at your goals. Look at your calendar. Your schedule is the real scoreboard. It shows your priorities in plain sight. You can talk about discipline. You can talk about ambition. You can talk about what matters. But if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. If you say health matters, but you don't schedule training, you're lying. If you say your business matters, but your time is filled with meetings that mean nothing, you're lying. If you say family matters, but you scroll during dinner, you're lying. Your time reveals your truth. You have a choice. Keep lying to yourself, or schedule what matters. That's the key. What gets scheduled gets done. You can't trust motivation. You can't trust willpower. They come and go. But structure stays. If it's not on your calendar, it won't happen. Period. Top performers know this. They live by their schedule, not their feelings. They don't hope they'll find time. They make time, and they protect it. They treat every time block like sacred ground. You have to do the same, because once your day starts, the world will try to steal it. Emails, notifications, people's problems, everything is designed to pull your attention away. But when you live by blocks, you build a wall around what matters. That's how you win the day, one protected block at a time. Block the one thing first. Remember Chapter 3? The one question. What's the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? That one thing must live inside your calendar first, not second, not later, not when you have time. First, before the noise, before the chaos, before the world takes over. That block is your anchor, your foundation. Protect it, defend it, live inside it. That's not a suggestion, that's the strategy. When you block your one thing, you send a message to yourself. This is who I am. This is what matters. This is what gets done. You don't need their permission. You don't owe anyone an explanation. That's your time. Guard it like a fortress. That's the key. The discipline of defense. Let's get something straight. Your time is under attack. Every text, every meeting, every got a minute, it's an invasion. And every time you say yes when you should say no, you surrender ground. You think you're being helpful. You think you're being polite. But you're bleeding time. You can't build a disciplined life if your schedule is open season for everyone else's agenda. You have to defend your blocks like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future lives inside those blocks. Your best work, your deepest focus, your real progress. So defend it. Say no more often. Cancel what doesn't serve the mission. Delete what drains energy. You're not rude for protecting your time. You're responsible. You have a choice. Be available to everyone or accountable to your vision. That's the key. The power of boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls. They're filters. They keep your focus clean. When you time block, you draw a line around your priorities, and that line says, "This matters." That doesn't. Most people don't have boundaries. They live in reaction. They let others dictate their rhythm. That's why they're tired. That's why they're scattered. That's why they never move forward. But when you live by blocks, your boundaries protect your momentum. You stop reacting. You start directing. You become proactive, not passive. Intentional, not impulsive. That's how discipline looks in real life. It's not about grinding harder. It's about guarding smarter. That's the key. Real-world example. The maker's schedule. Let's look at how top creators operate. Writers, programmers, artists, strategists. They know they need long, uninterrupted stretches of focus to create anything meaningful. So they live by the maker's schedule. They block entire mornings or even entire days for deep work. No meetings, no messages, no distractions. They protect those hours like gold, because that's where the real output happens. Contrast that with the manager's schedule. Back-to-back meetings, endless interruptions, constant context switching. Managers measure hours. Makers measure progress. You want to be a maker of your future? Then block time like one. Protect the block. Defend the block. Live inside the block. That's the formula for results. The ritual of reset. Every week, reset your battlefield. Sit down with your calendar. Review your goals. Ask yourself, does my schedule reflect what matters most? If the answer is no, fix it. Delete what doesn't align. Move your one thing to the front. Make space for depth. Don't wait for clarity to strike. Design it. Your weekly reset is a strategic ritual. It's where you decide your direction before the week decides it for you. You're not reacting, you're leading. You're not waiting, you're commanding. You're not hoping, you're executing. That's the key. The emotional resistance. Here's the truth. When you start defending your time, people will resist. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're too busy. They'll try to pull you back into their chaos. Let them talk. You don't need their permission to protect your focus. You don't need validation for discipline. You're not being selfish, you're being strategic. Because every no to distraction is a yes to excellence. You're not available for everything. You're available for what matters. And that's how it should be. You have a choice. Live for approval or live for achievement. That's the key. The formula. Let's make it simple. Step 1. Identify your one thing. Step 2. Block time for it first. Step 3. Protect it with boundaries. Step 4. Eliminate or batch everything else. Step 5. Reset weekly and adjust as needed. That's your system. That's your structure. That's your foundation. Stop overcomplicating it. Success is not about speed. It's about sequence. Do the right thing at the right time, in the right block. That's the formula for focus. The hard truth. You say you want change. You say you want freedom. You say you want to win. Then show me your calendar. Because your results will never exceed your schedule. If your calendar is chaos, your life will be chaos. If your calendar is disciplined, your life will be disciplined. You can't live a focused life on a distracted schedule. So build the structure, protect the block, defend the block, live inside the block. That's how you command your time. That's how you reclaim your power. That's how you build momentum. You have a choice: keep reacting or start directing. Choose wisely. Command the clock. Your time is your most valuable currency. Spend it with intention. Every block you protect is a statement of ownership. Every distraction you deny is an act of power. You don't need permission to structure your life. You just need the courage to defend it. Protect the block. Defend the block. Live inside the block. That's how you win. That's how you lead. That's how you live a life that actually moves forward. You've learned to protect your time. Now it's time to master your energy, because time means nothing if you show up drained. Chapter 6. Build habits that protect focus. Willpower is temporary. Habits are armor. You can't rely on motivation. It's a myth. It shows up when it wants. It disappears when you need it most. But habits? Habits don't ask how you feel. They don't care if you're tired. They execute every day without question. That's the key. If you want consistency, stop chasing motivation and start building systems. Because discipline is not about forcing yourself to act once. It's about designing a life where focus becomes automatic. You have a choice. You can keep fighting the same battles every morning, or you can build habits that fight for you. That's the truth. The fragility of willpower. Let's be clear. Your willpower will fail. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You wake up determined. You start strong. Then the day hits you. Emails, distractions, fatigue, stress. By the afternoon, that clean surge of focus you felt at 8 a.m. is gone. You start making weak decisions. You start rationalizing shortcuts. That's not because you're broken. It's because willpower is a battery, and every decision you make drains it. Scroll or focus. Work out or skip. Cook or order out. Each small decision eats your power until you've got nothing left. You can't win the war of focus by fighting every battle manually. You need automation. You need structure. You need habits that remove the need to decide. That's the key. Habits remove decision fatigue. Every decision you eliminate strengthens your discipline. You think discipline means more control, but it actually means fewer choices. That's why top performers wear the same outfit, eat the same meals, wake up at the same time. They've stripped away friction. They don't think about what to do next. They already decided long ago. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And those systems live inside your habits. You don't need to wake up every day and find focus. You build focus into your routines. You don't need to feel like working on your one thing. You make it automatic. Same time, same place, no negotiation. That's how pros do it. That's how focus survives. That's the key. The ritual of focus. You must ritualize your focus. Make it sacred. Your one thing deserves more than a random slot in your day. It deserves a ritual, a predictable, repeatable routine that primes your mind and body for deep work. Maybe it's 6 a.m., coffee on your left, silence on your right. Maybe it's 8 p.m., lights dimmed, headphones in. Whatever it is, lock it in. Do it the same way every time. That ritual becomes a trigger. Your mind learns, when this starts, I focus. No resistance, no hesitation, no questions. You don't wait to feel ready. You begin. That's the discipline. That's the armor. Because discipline is remembering what you want most, not what you want now. That's the mantra. Say it again. Discipline is remembering what you want most, not what you want now. You have a choice. Give in to comfort or build consistency. That's the key. Environment is everything. Your habits live inside your environment. Change the environment and you change the behavior. You don't need more self-control. You need fewer temptations. Stop working where you relax. Stop sleeping where you scroll. Stop trying to build discipline in a place that rewards distraction. Design your space to make the right action easy and the wrong action hard. If your one thing is writing, set your desk up for writing only. No clutter, no distractions, just the tools you need. If your one thing is training, prep your clothes and shoes the night before. Remove the friction. Make success the path of least resistance. That's not about motivation. That's about engineering. You don't need their permission to create an environment that supports your goals. You just need the courage to design it. That's the key. Small habits, big momentum. Don't underestimate small habits. They compound. 1 page a day becomes a book. 1 call a day becomes a business. 1 workout a day becomes a body that commands respect. You build momentum through repetition, not intensity. Anyone can go hard for a week. Few can go steady for a year. That's the real test. So start small, but start every day. Set micro goals. Keep your streak alive. Protect the rhythm. Because once a habit is built, momentum takes over. And momentum doesn't need motivation. That's the key. The 3 layers of habit. Habits have 3 layers. Most people only focus on 1. Layer 1, the outcome. What you want. Lose weight. Write a book. Grow a business. Layer 2, the process. What you do. Train. Write. Sell. Layer 3, the identity. Who you become. A disciplined person. A focused creator. A consistent leader. The identity layer is where real change happens. Don't just build habits to hit a goal. Build them to become someone new. When you identify as a focused person, distraction becomes unacceptable. When you identify as a disciplined person, procrastination feels foreign. When you identify as someone who follows through, quitting loses its power. Identity drives behavior. You have a choice. Keep trying to act different or decide to be different. That's the key. Habit triggers and anchors. Habits are built through triggers, a cue that signals a behavior. If you want to protect focus, stack your habits around anchors. Example, finish your morning coffee, open your journal. After you close your laptop, write tomorrow's top priority. After brushing your teeth, visualize your one thing. Anchors make your habits automatic. They create rhythm. They eliminate "should I" from the equation. You stop debating. You start doing. You don't wait for perfect conditions. You execute because it's time. That's the power of anchors. That's the key to consistency. When you fall off, you will slip. You will miss days. You will break streaks. That's not failure. That's feedback. The weak use failure as an excuse to quit. The strong use it as data to adjust. So when you miss a habit, don't collapse. Reset immediately. 1 miss is an error. 2 misses is a pattern. Don't let the second one happen. That's discipline. Because discipline isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up again and again, even when you fall short. You have a choice. Stay down or reset fast. That's the key. The habit shield. Habits are your shield. They protect your focus when life gets chaotic. When stress hits, habits hold the line. When willpower fades, habits take over. When everything else falls apart, habits keep you moving forward. That's why they're armor. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the strength of your routines. So make those routines strong. Make them automatic. Make them sacred. Same time, same place, no negotiation. That's how you build a life that moves on autopilot toward excellence. That's how you stop depending on mood and start depending on mastery. That's how you win. The habit of discipline. Discipline is remembering what you want most, not what you want now. Every habit you build should serve that truth. Stop relying on willpower. Start designing systems. Because when focus becomes habitual, distraction becomes irrelevant. You have a choice. Keep fighting your habits, or make your habits fight for you. That's the key. That's the difference between trying and transforming. You've built habits that protect focus. Now it's time to guard your most precious asset of all, your energy. Chapter 7. Say no to everything else. Every yes hides 100 silent no's. That's the truth nobody wants to face. Every time you say yes to something unimportant, you say no to something essential. Every time you please others, you betray yourself. Every time you spread your attention thin, you kill your momentum. You have a choice. You can live diluted, or you can live directed. That's the key. The myth of yes. We've been conditioned to think yes is the polite answer. Yes keeps people happy. Yes makes you agreeable. Yes keeps the peace. But yes is also how most people lose control of their lives. They say yes to meetings they shouldn't be in. They say yes to projects that don't move them forward. They say yes to social obligations that drain them dry. And then they wonder why they feel overworked, overwhelmed, and underfulfilled. It's not because they lack time. It's because they lack the courage to say no. You have a choice. Live by approval or live by alignment. That's the key. Every yes has a cost. People forget this. Every commitment costs energy. Every obligation consumes focus. Every task takes time. You can't just say yes without paying the price. When you add one more thing to your plate, something else falls off. When you take on someone else's priority, you drop your own. When you fill your day with noise, you lose the silence where clarity grows. You can do anything, but not everything. That's not negativity. That's physics. Your energy, your time, your attention, they are finite. And once they're gone, they're gone. So stop pretending you can do it all. Stop saying yes to everything and expecting to stay focused. You can't serve two masters. You can't chase 10 goals. You can't split your focus and still expect excellence. If it's not your one thing, it's not your thing. That's the mantra. Say it again. If it's not your one thing, it's not your thing. The discipline of no. Saying no is not rejection, it's refinement. It's not about shutting doors. It's about locking in on the right one. The most successful people in the world have one thing in common. They're ruthless with their focus. They guard their time like it's gold. They protect their schedule like a fortress. They turn down almost everything because they understand saying no is how you stay powerful. You don't owe everyone access to your time. You don't owe explanations for your focus. You don't owe guilt for protecting your priorities. You don't need their permission. This is your life, your mission, your lane. The discipline of no is what separates the distracted from the dangerous. That's the key. The guilt trap. Here's what stops most people. They feel guilty for saying no. They worry about disappointing others. They fear being judged. They crave approval. But let me remind you, guilt is the tax of growth. When you start setting boundaries, the people who benefited from your lack of them will complain. When you start saying no, people will call you selfish. When you start protecting your focus, people will call you obsessed. Let them. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be effective. You're not here to make everyone comfortable. You're here to create something exceptional. You're not here to serve every request. You're here to serve your purpose. Guilt fades. Regret lasts. So choose guilt now or regret later. You have a choice. That's the key. The power of filtering. Here's how you fix it. Create a personal filter. Before you say yes, ask, does this serve my one thing? Does this align with my mission? Does this move me closer or distract me farther? If the answer isn't a hell yes, it's a no. You don't need to overthink it. You don't need to justify it. You just need to protect what matters. Every time you say no, you sharpen your focus. Every time you say no, you strengthen your standards. Every time you say no, you reinforce your direction. You are not rejecting opportunity, you are refining it. That's the mindset. That's the muscle. That's the discipline. If it's not your one thing, it's not your thing. Real-world example. The Warren Buffett rule. Let's take it from one of the sharpest minds on the planet. Warren Buffett was once asked for his secret to success. He said it came down to this. Write down your top 25 goals. Now circle the top 5. Everything else, avoid at all costs. That's focus. That's clarity. That's the power of no. Because the most dangerous distractions aren't the obvious ones. They're the good ones, the ones that look productive but pull you off course. It's not bad habits that derail most people. It's overcommitment. Too many decent options. Too many half-focuses. But the greats know, excellence demands elimination. To rise higher, you must narrow your field. That's the key. The rule of subtraction. You don't need more tools. You don't need more strategies. You need fewer distractions. Every no sharpens your blade. Every no strengthens your edge. Subtraction is power. When you remove the unnecessary, the essential shines. When you clear the noise, you can finally hear your own direction. When you stop saying yes to everything, you start moving forward with force. Minimalism isn't just an aesthetic, it's a weapon. It's not about having less, it's about being less divided. That's the key. Scripts for no. Let's get practical. You don't have to be rude to say no. You just have to be clear. Here are a few simple phrases. That doesn't align with my current focus. I appreciate the offer, but I'm fully committed right now. I can't take that on without compromising my priorities. That's not the best use of my time. Notice something? No guilt, no apology, just truth. You're not rejecting people. You're respecting your purpose. You have a choice. Either protect your time or surrender it. One builds momentum. The other builds resentment. That's the key. Freedom through focus. Most people think saying no limits them. It doesn't. It frees them. Every no clears space for your yes to matter. Every boundary creates breathing room for excellence. Every rejection of noise opens the door for mastery. That's the paradox. Saying no gives you more. More energy, more clarity, more progress. Focus isn't restriction, it's liberation. When you stop scattering your power, you start channeling it. And that's when life moves. If it's not your one thing, it's not your thing. Say it again. Let it burn in your brain. If it's not your one thing, it's not your thing. That's the code. That's the mindset. That's how you win. The strength to refuse. Every yes you give shapes your destiny. Every no you protect defines your direction. The people who change the world don't do everything. They do the right thing, over and over, without apology. You don't need their permission. You don't need to please the crowd. You just need to stay aligned. If it's not your one thing, it's not your thing. You have a choice. Live distracted or live deliberate. That's the key. That's the line in the sand. That's where the exceptional separate from the average. You've learned to say no to everything else. Now, it's time to learn how to protect your inner world. You've guarded your calendar. You've built your habits. Now we go deeper, because focus starts in the mind. Chapter 8. Purpose drives priority. Purpose clarifies everything. When you know why, the what becomes obvious. When you know why, distractions lose their power. When you know why, your energy has direction. Without purpose, priorities are just guesses. That's the truth. The foundation of focus. People say they want focus. They say they want clarity. They say they want discipline. But focus without purpose is blind. Clarity without direction is confusion. Discipline without meaning becomes burnout. You can't prioritize what matters until you know why it matters. That's the key. Purpose gives order to chaos. Purpose turns noise into direction. Purpose gives your decisions a filter and your days a backbone. You can't fake it. You can't borrow it. You have to define it. Because purpose is the compass. It tells you what to say yes to. It tells you what to say no to. It tells you where your time belongs and where it doesn't. You have a choice. Live with intention or drift by default. That's the key. The drifter versus the driven. Let's look at the difference. The drifter wakes up and checks their phone before they check their purpose. Their day is dictated by notifications, not direction. They chase every opportunity because they don't know which one matters. They confuse motion with progress. They confuse busyness with effectiveness. They're exhausted, not because they work too hard, but because they work without aim. Now look at the driven. The driven wake up on mission. They know what matters. They know why they're doing it. Their choices align with their goals. Their habits support their vision. They move differently. They decide faster. They live lighter because they're not burdened by indecision. They don't chase everything. They move towards something. That's the power of purpose. It's not about working harder. It's about working with direction. It's not about managing time. It's about managing meaning. Without purpose, you'll always be busy. With purpose, you'll finally be effective. That's the key. Real-world example. The teacher. Let me show you what purpose looks like in real life. There's a teacher, let's call her Sarah. For years, Sarah tried to be the perfect teacher. She chased metrics, test scores, performance reviews, parent approval. She said yes to every extra project, every committee, every initiative. She was working hard, but she was losing heart. She was burning out, not because she didn't care, but because she cared about everything equally. Then one day, she made a shift. She asked herself one question: why did I become a teacher in the first place? The answer was simple: to change lives, one student at a time. That became her purpose, her compass. So she stopped chasing metrics and started chasing impact. She stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be present. She picked one struggling student and made that child her mission. Everything changed. Her classroom transformed. Her energy returned. Her results improved. Ironically, including those test scores she stopped obsessing over. Because when she found her why, the what became obvious. That's what purpose does. It simplifies everything. It focuses your energy where it matters most. Without purpose, priorities are just guesses. That's the key. The illusion of balance. People talk about work-life balance like it's the goal. It's not. Balance is what you chase when you don't know your purpose. Purpose doesn't balance. It prioritizes. It says, this matters, that doesn't. It says, this gets my energy, that doesn't. It says, this is aligned. That's a distraction. You can't have balance in a life that's built for excellence. You can only have clarity. And clarity comes from purpose. You have a choice. You can try to balance everything, or you can prioritize what drives you. That's the key. How to find your purpose. Let's get practical. Purpose isn't found in a moment. It's uncovered through reflection and action. Start here. Step 1. Ask better questions. Ask yourself, what would I do even if no one noticed? What impact do I want to leave? What problem am I willing to face every day? Because purpose isn't about passion. It's about responsibility. It's not what excites you once. It's what you're willing to carry always. Step 2. Define your mission statement. Write one line that defines your why. Simple, clear, no fluff. Example, I teach to change lives. I build to serve others. I create to inspire discipline. That's it. Your purpose should fit on a post-it note. Step 3. Align your actions. Take your mission and ask, does my calendar reflect this? Do my habits support this? Do my priorities prove this? If not, change them, because purpose isn't something you say. It's something you schedule. That's the key. The filter of purpose. Once you define your purpose, it becomes your filter. Every decision runs through it. Every opportunity gets tested by it. Ask yourself, does this align with my purpose? If yes, go all in. If no, walk away. It's that simple. Purpose eliminates overthinking. Purpose eliminates guilt. Purpose eliminates confusion. Because when you live by purpose, you don't need external validation. You don't need their permission. You know why you're here. You know what matters. And when you know that, you stop chasing approval. That's the key. The energy of alignment. Here's the secret. When your purpose and your priorities align, you get power. You stop feeling drained. You stop fighting yourself. You stop procrastinating. Because energy flows naturally when you're on purpose. You don't need motivation when you're living your mission. You don't need external push when you have internal pull. It's not about willpower. It's about alignment. When your why is strong enough, your how becomes automatic. That's why some people can wake up early, train hard, and stay disciplined. It's not because they love pain. It's because they're fueled by purpose. They know what they're fighting for. They know what's at stake. Without purpose, discipline feels like punishment. With purpose, discipline feels like progress. That's the key. Purpose protects you. Purpose doesn't just drive your focus, it protects it. When you know why you're doing something, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop chasing their timeline. You stop measuring success by their scoreboard. You realize your lane is yours. Purpose is armor. It keeps you grounded when life throws distractions, criticism, and chaos your way. It reminds you that not everything deserves a reaction. You don't need to prove yourself when you're already on purpose. You don't need to compete when you're committed to your mission. You have a choice, be pulled by noise or guided by meaning. That's the key. Purpose is power. Without purpose, priorities are just guesses. With purpose, priorities become declarations. Purpose is what turns average effort into extraordinary impact. It's what separates the drifter from the driven. It's what gives your focus meaning and your discipline endurance. You don't need their permission to live on purpose. You just need to decide that your life is going to mean something, and then align everything to that decision. You have a choice. You can chase everything, or you can chase what matters. That's the key. You found your why. Now, let's talk about how to protect it. Because purpose means nothing without consistency. You mastered alignment. Now it's time for endurance. Chapter 9. Mastery is the long game. Mastery isn't luck. It's loyalty to one pursuit. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. They want quick results, fast growth, instant gratification. They want to skip the grind and jump to the glory. But mastery doesn't work that way. Mastery is earned. It's built one repetition at a time. It's the reward for consistency, not the prize for talent. Focus leads to skill. Skill leads to mastery. And mastery leads to freedom. That's the sequence. That's the long game. The mirage of fast success. We live in a culture addicted to speed. People want to hack everything. Hack their habits, hack their income, hack their results. But there are no hacks for mastery. Every shortcut costs you something real. Every time you look for easy, you trade depth for dopamine. Because mastery isn't built in a weekend. It's built in a lifetime. Ask any elite athlete, world-class musician, or master craftsman. They don't practice because it's fun. They practice because it's necessary. They understand one thing most people ignore. Repetition is the path. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And your habits decide whether you'll dabble or dominate. You have a choice. You can chase fast results or build real results. You can play for applause or play for mastery. That's the key, the compounding effect of focus. Every day you show up for your one thing, you sharpen the blade. It doesn't feel dramatic, it doesn't feel like much, but mastery hides in the invisible. It hides in the unsexy hours. It hides in the days when you don't want to do it, but do it anyway. It hides in the repetitions nobody applauds, because every repetition compounds. One focused hour becomes 100. 100 hours becomes 1,000. 1,000 hours becomes a craft. The same way interest compounds in a bank account, your discipline compounds in your skill set. You may not see growth daily, but it's happening. You're stacking invisible victories. You're becoming the kind of person who finishes. That's the key. The 10,000-hour truth. You've probably heard the 10,000-hour rule. The idea that it takes roughly 10,000 hours to master something. It's not about the number. It's about the principle. 10,000 hours means commitment beyond comfort. It means you're willing to be bad before you get good, and patient before you get great. Most people quit in the awkward phase, the I suck at this phase. They can't stand being beginners. They crave validation too early. But masters don't need applause. They need progress. They know that every awkward attempt is one step closer to excellence. Every failure is data. Every repetition refines their precision. It's not about talent, it's about tenacity. You don't need their permission to pursue mastery. You just need loyalty to your craft. That's the key. The emotional toll of the long game. Let's be honest. The long game is lonely. It's slow. It's repetitive. it's often invisible. While others jump from trend to trend, you'll be doing the same thing again and again. While others chase novelty, you'll chase improvement. While others look busy, you'll look boring. But boring is the price of greatness. Mastery doesn't always feel exciting. It feels steady, intentional, relentless. You're not chasing new. You're chasing better. You'll have days where it feels like nothing's changing. Days where progress feels invisible. Days where you question whether it's working. That's normal, because mastery isn't a constant rise, it's a staircase. Long, flat stretches, followed by sudden leaps. You climb in silence, and then, one day, you break through. And when that day comes, people will call you talented. They'll call you gifted. They'll call you lucky. But you'll know better. You'll know it wasn't luck. It was loyalty. Loyalty to one pursuit. Loyalty to showing up when it didn't feel worth it. That's the key. Real-world example. The guitarist. Think of a guitarist. Let's call him Daniel. He's been playing for 10 years. He practices every morning, 2 hours before work. No audience, no spotlight, no shortcuts. Just him, the instrument, and the discipline. He started clumsy, fingers sore, chords messy, rhythm off. But he stayed loyal to the craft. He didn't chase perfection. He chased improvement. Now, a decade later, people say he's gifted. They say he makes it look easy. Of course he does. He's practiced making it look easy. That's what mastery does. It makes the difficult look effortless. It turns deliberate practice into natural expression. But only because he stayed when others quit. You see, mastery rewards loyalty. Loyalty to the reps. Loyalty to the boredom. Loyalty to the grind that nobody sees. That's the secret. That's the key. The discipline of repetition. Mastery doesn't demand genius. It demands repetition. Do it again, and again, and again. You have to love the process more than the prize. You have to fall in love with the repetition itself. Because repetition is what rewires your brain. Repetition builds instinct. Repetition turns effort into execution. Most people stop too soon. They get bored, distracted, or discouraged. But the masters, they stay. They understand that discipline is remembering what you want most, not what you want now. You have a choice. You can chase novelty, or you can build mastery. You can seek entertainment, or you can earn excellence. How to train for mastery. Let's get practical. Step 1. Choose your one pursuit. Pick the skill, craft, or mission that truly matters. Commit to it, fully, publicly. You can do anything, but not everything. Step 2. Set a standard, not a goal. Goals are temporary. Standards are permanent. A goal says, I want to play the guitar. A standard says, I practice guitar every morning. Build a standard that reinforces your identity. Because mastery is who you become, not what you accomplish. Step 3. Create a feedback loop. Track your performance. Review your progress. Learn from your mistakes instead of running from them. Every mistake is a message. Every setback is instruction. Step 4. Protect your focus. No multitasking. No excuses. When you work on your one thing, give it everything. Protect the block. Defend the block. Live inside the block. That's how mastery is built. One focused block at a time. The freedom of mastery. Mastery leads to freedom. When you master your craft, you control your outcomes. You control your time. You control your future. Freedom isn't the absence of effort. It's the reward of effort. Once you've built the skill, nobody can take it from you. Once you've earned the respect, you don't have to beg for it. Mastery gives you options. Mastery gives you confidence. Mastery gives you peace. Because when you know you can deliver, you stop doubting yourself. That's real freedom. That's the long game. You have a choice: dabble for attention or master for impact. One fades, the other lasts. That's the key. The loyalty to one pursuit mastery isn't glamorous. It's gritty. It's built on loyalty, not luck. Every day you show up for your one thing, you sharpen your blade. Every day you repeat, refine, and recommit, you move closer to freedom. Because mastery isn't about talent, it's about trust. Trust in the process. Trust in the repetition. Trust in the long game. You don't need their permission to be great. You just need to stay loyal to the work. That's the key. You've learned the value of mastery, the long game that builds freedom. Now let's talk about the one force that kills it faster than anything else. You've built momentum. Now it's time to guard it. Chapter 10. Success is a narrow path. Success is not wide. It's razor thin. It's not found by the crowd. It's carved by the committed. The truth? Most people never find it because they spread themselves too thin. They chase everything. They master nothing. They think success is variety. But success is precision. It's not about doing more. It's about doing less, better. That's the key. The illusion of the wide path. The world sells you the wide path. Try everything. Say yes to every opportunity. Keep your options open. It sounds empowering. It feels exciting. But it's poison for focus. Because when everything matters, nothing does. The wide path is crowded. It's filled with distraction, confusion, and exhaustion. Everyone's busy. Everyone's hustling. Everyone's working hard. But few are winning because they're walking the wide path. The narrow path, though, that's where excellence lives. That's where precision lives. That's where greatness hides. Few people walk it because it's uncomfortable. It's demanding. It's disciplined. You have a choice. Walk the wide path of comfort or the narrow path of mastery. The narrow path requires clarity. The narrow path begins with one word: clarity. You have to know exactly where you're going and exactly what doesn't matter. Because clarity is elimination. You can't keep everything and expect to grow. You can't hold every dream and expect to move fast. You have to decide. Decide who you are. Decide what matters. Decide what you're willing to sacrifice. Every yes creates 1,000 hidden no's, and every no creates space for your one real yes. That's how you narrow the path. You stop being everything to everyone and start being excellent at something. Real-world anchor. The power of specialization. Look at the most successful people, companies, and creators on Earth. They didn't diversify at the start. They specialized. Apple didn't start with 10 products. They built one computer. Then they refined it. Then they dominated it. Michael Phelps didn't train in 10 sports. He swam every day for years. Picasso didn't paint every style under the sun. He found his form, his language, his edge, and lived inside it. They all walked the narrow path. They simplified. They focused. They executed. And when they mastered their one thing, only then did they expand. Because success starts narrow, not wide. You have a choice. Dabble in everything or dominate one thing. The discipline of elimination. Success demands subtraction. Not more ideas, fewer. Not more goals, one. Not more effort, focused effort. You don't grow by addition. You grow by elimination. That's the discipline. You must eliminate distractions, obligations, and even good opportunities that pull you away from your great one. It's not about being capable. It's about being committed. Most people can do many things. Masters commit to one. Because focus without elimination is impossible. You can't climb higher while carrying dead weight. You have a choice: cut the noise or drown in it. Simplify to multiply. Here's the paradox of success. The simpler your focus, the greater your results. Complexity kills execution. Simplicity fuels momentum. When you simplify, you move faster. When you focus, you make impact. When you execute on one clear direction, everything compounds. That's why the best companies have simple missions. That's why elite athletes have simple routines. That's why disciplined people have simple rules. Simplicity isn't weakness, it's power. Every extra decision, every extra task, every extra distraction divides your attention. But one goal, one mission, one focus, that's where force builds. That's where breakthroughs happen. Simplify, focus, execute, repeat. Say it again. Simplify, focus, execute, repeat. That's the rhythm of the narrow path. The pain of narrowing. Don't misunderstand. Walking the narrow path hurts. It hurts to let go of good things. It hurts to say no to opportunities that might work. It hurts to stay disciplined while others experiment. But pain is part of progress. The narrow path cuts, but it also carves. It sharpens you. It clarifies you. It purifies your priorities. The wide path is easy, but it leaves you average. The narrow path is hard, but it leads you to mastery. You can't have both. You have a choice: comfort now or clarity forever. The power of a single direction. The narrow path doesn't just build mastery, it builds momentum. Because when all your energy moves in one direction, you become unstoppable. Think about it. A river spreads wide, and it's gentle. But when that same water narrows into a focused stream, it cuts through rock. That's power. Focus turns effort into force. When you narrow your life, you multiply your impact. When you simplify your priorities, you magnify your results. You stop scattering your strength and start channeling it. And that's when life changes. Not when you do more, but when you finally do less. Simplify, focus, execute, repeat. Practical steps. Walking the narrow path. Let's make it real. Step 1. Define your narrow path. What's your one thing? What's the pursuit that matters most? If you could only win in one area, what would it be? Write it down. Commit to it. Step 2. Identify your distractions. What's stealing your energy? What's cluttering your focus? What's keeping you on the wide path? Cut it. Ruthlessly. Step 3. Build systems, not willpower. Don't rely on motivation. It fades. Rely on structure. Schedule your focus. Protect your time block. You don't need to try harder. You need to try less, on fewer things. Step 4. Repeat until mastery. Keep narrowing until you feel unstoppable. Then narrow again. Simplify. Focus. Execute. Repeat. That's not just a phrase. It's a formula. That's the rhythm of the narrow path. The confidence of commitment. When you walk the narrow path, you stop doubting. You stop second-guessing. You stop comparing. Because clarity kills insecurity. You know who you are. You know what matters. You know where you're going. You stop chasing the crowd and start building your lane. That's freedom. Not the freedom to do everything. The freedom to do what matters most. You don't need their permission to narrow your focus. You don't need validation for simplifying your life. You just need discipline. You just need clarity. You just need loyalty to your purpose. The narrow path never widens. Here's the secret. Even when you succeed, the path doesn't get wider. Success actually demands more focus, not less. More discipline, not comfort. More clarity, not chaos. Because every new level brings new distractions. That's why many people reach success and then lose it. They forget what got them there. They stop doing the simple things. They start adding, expanding, overcomplicating. And that's when they fall. The narrow path isn't something you walk once. It's something you live forever. You stay focused. You stay loyal. You stay sharp. Simplify. Focus. Execute. Repeat. The razor-thin road to greatness. Success isn't a highway. It's a razor-thin road. Few will walk it. Fewer will stay on it. But those who do, those who simplify, focus, execute, and repeat, will own their craft, their future, and their freedom. Because success doesn't belong to the busiest. It belongs to the most focused. You have a choice. You can wander the wide path or commit to the narrow one. You can chase everything or master something. That's the key. Simplify, focus, execute, repeat, until it becomes who you are. This is your wake-up call. You've heard the truth. Success isn't a mystery, it's a method. It's not luck, it's not talent, it's focus. Stop spreading yourself thin. Stop chasing everything. Find your one thing. Protect it with your time. Defend it with your energy. Nurture it with your discipline. Everything you want, wealth, health, purpose, peace, lives on the other side of focus. You have a choice. You can keep drifting, or you can start building. So ask yourself, right now, what's the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? Don't just think it, do it. Today, now, every day, until your one thing becomes everything. If this message hit you, subscribe, comment, like, and share this with someone who needs to wake up too.